Today I'm going to be discussing why I will not be abandoning ship on Octopus Agile, even though it's currently seeing some of the highest prices ever seen. And today I'm going to tell you why it's still cheaper than other tariffs and why you're missing some key facts about Octopus Agile. Now, Octopus Agile, if you weren't aware, is a special tariff from the company Octopus Energy. Octopus Energy do a couple of tariffs, standard tariffs. They also do one called Octopus Go. Octopus Go is just like a normal off-peak tariff. It has 4 set hours of cheap electricity, which is 5 pence per kilowatt hour, and then the peak time is 14 pence per kilowatt hour. What Octopus Agile does is it's a smart reactive tariff based on the wholesale price. Your energy price changes every 30 minutes. You know in advance prices every day at 4 p.m. for the next day until 11 p.m. and they're published basically on Octopus's website, so you can see what the price is going to be. Now, like a video I've done top right, you can see that there is some very rare circumstances where you can be paid to use energy off the grid. So paid to charge up your storage heaters, paid to charge your electric car, paid to turn on your oven. And that is one of the best things about Octopus Agile that you can get. Now, if you're thinking of signing up to Octopus Agile, Octopus Go, or any standard Octopus tariff, there's a link down below in the description. You will get £50 if you use my link to sign up, and I'll also get £50 as well, so we get to split £100, and that is really helpful because I've just broken this £200 mic setting up the cameras today to film this, and I'm now going to have to buy a new one of these to film other videos for you. Now let's look at some of the points on why I'm sticking with Octopus Agile. Now, if your only concern for being with Octopus Agile is purely monetary value, purely price, then this point isn't really ideal for you. The next one may be. However, if you're with Octopus Agile because you are a green customer, you care about the environment, you care about being green and more sustainable, then this point is definitely for you. And that is, Octopus Agile forces you as a customer to be greener, to think greener. And the reason for this is most people will avoid charging up their electric car, storage heaters, or just basic high energy devices during these peak times because they're trying to not pay that extra money. So yes, there is a price incentive here, but that price incentive does help everyone think greener. And by making you think greener, it lowers the demand on the grid, therefore lowering the chance that peaker plants, coal plants, really dirty generation plants need to fire up on the national grid to keep the blackout supply from happening. And by basically having these price points, you won't charge these things up, therefore creating less demand on the national grid. Again, this is another point that if you are purely price-based, it's not really a great point short term for you, but long term it does. And that is, Octopus Agile helps balance the national grid, and in turn, by more balanced grid, we should see more leveled out, more average prices across the market. And because of that, it's to do with the fact that the national grid is a very delicate balance game. We build power plants, coal plants, nuclear plants, wind turbine. Every plant in the UK is built for the peak, so the absolute peak, which is 4 to 6, the most amount of electricity is being used by the grid, and power plants are built for that because we don't want blackouts. Most of the time, a lot of these plants are just turned offline and aren't used apart from high demand areas. And because of this, we have to build more and more power plants to meet these high peak demands. If we, as users, switch away from using excessive energy between 4 and 6 and choose to charge and plug things in out of these times, less power plants need to be built. Less power plants being built is a lower cost per kilowatt hour for everybody. And lower cost per kilowatt hour for everyone means that dramatically the prices will fall, because the idea is we want to fill up what we call the national green. Basically the national grid have a bathtub and it needs filling up between the hours of typically 12:30 till about 6 a.m. in the morning, and that's when the use is low and that's when they want you to use energy, because it rises up the average line, so the same power plants can just predict where they're going to be pretty much every day of the year. Now, I'm not saying that you should not cook your dinner between 4 and 6 on an electric oven, or even not do other things that you may need to do, like boil a kettle, especially if you're from Yorkshire. But if you are thinking of avoiding these peak times for not cooking tea and stuff like that, I wouldn't worry about it too much, because an oven, for example, is extremely efficient. It will use minuscule amounts of electricity. Once it's got to temperature, it uses very little. Getting up to temperature, yes, it uses a little bit of energy, but once it's at temperature, it's pretty stable. So you're going to be using not very many kilowatts to get up to energy. An electric car, however, which charges at 7.2 kilowatts, will pull 7.2 kilowatts every hour it's on, where an electric oven won't. It probably pull 2 kilowatts over a 2-hour period to get to temperature, and that's it. Of course, Octopus Agile prices at the moment are some of the highest prices ever seen on the wholesale market. In fact, one day, I think it was the 5th of January this year, it broke the highest record we've seen since 2016. So quite extremely high prices, and there is a couple of reasons why we're seeing these higher price demands, which we'll get into in further points down below, because there is so many factors causing these higher price issues. But even with this 35p kilowatt hour maximum Octopus Agile rate you can pay, because that's the rate Octopus fix at, the wholesale price can hit way above 35p, and Octopus will swallow some of that price in their profit margins. But they will cap it at 35p because that's what they're like. They're a good company like that. They set a firewall that you will hit, and that is the top max price you will pay per kilowatt, even during peak times, which is good for them. And it also is not that high when you consider that the average day cost on Octopus Agile is lower than the typical standard charge rate tariff. Now, what I mean by that is if you look at a 24-hour period on Octopus Agile, the average unit cost is below their standard unit cost rate, apart from 1 or 2 days this week that it has hit over. But the average over, say, a 3 or 4 week period, the standard rate is much higher than the average standard of Octopus Agile. Now, obviously, there is a drove of people switching away from Octopus Agile to Octopus Go, and that is because Octopus Go gives a fixed term period of 4 hours at 5p and 14p for the rest. And some of the points above raise why you should not just go and switch to Octopus Go, because if you're purely caring about your pocket and not about the general well-being of the planet, then you're a selfish individual in my mind. But if that's all you care about, then yes, I can understand why you'd switch to Go at the moment, and I understand why you might want to stay with Go and not switch to Agile. But switching from Agile to Go is just not really worth it when you look at some of the finer points about sticking with Agile long term. Octopus Agile isn't usually this expensive, and in writing this video, Octopus actually published yesterday some of the findings on why the wholesale price is more expensive, and half of them were actually some of the points I wrote originally for this video, but I've included some of their extra stuff that they've added, and let's have a look at what some of those are. It's extremely unseasonably cold for this time of year. We're seeing some of the lowest temperatures we've seen this time of year for quite some time, and because of that, more people are using more energy to heat their homes. People are using more storage heaters, people are using basically electric fires to heat their homes, and because of all this extra energy use and people using more energy at home, and also people working from home, there's basically an increase of demand there, which is untypical for this time of year. And the reason I say untypical for this time of year, because it ties into something to do with generation, and generation is not currently working at its usual output, and this is for a couple of reasons. Some generators are shut down for maintenance issues, some of them are shut down because of problems they had, and some of them shut down for completely other reasons. But there is more generation offline on the grid than we've seen for quite some time. It's not very windy. You've probably noticed that it's some of the stillest days I've ever seen. It's right now not windy at all. There's pretty much a very, very, very light breeze outside, and that's it. And because of that, wind generation is at the lowest point it's been for quite some time. Now, I have got a graph from Octopus, which I will post down below in the description if you want to have a look at it. But basically, wind has dropped off, and considering we have more wind generation turbines going in pretty much every single day than we have for quite some time, to see lower wind generation with more generators in there, it's just unseasonably unwindy. So not only have we got unseasonable use being used because of how cold it is, but we've also got quite extremely low wind. Some of the lowest wind we've seen for a hell of a long time. I mean, I don't remember for the rest of you, but typically winter tends to be pretty windy. Now, that's not the only type of generation that isn't running on full steam. Full steam there being a bit of a pun to some of the other generators that are down. Now, Octopus do only buy 100% renewable energy for you, the customer. That's how it works. That's what they buy off the wholesale network. However, if other generators are down, so nuclear, gas, etc., if they're not producing, the average wholesale rate's higher because everyone tries to buy the cheapest possible energy for their customers, and because typically wind is the cheapest, everyone's trying to buy wind and solar that's available, so the wholesale price for all of these goes up. Got some facts on some of the generation that's currently down, and it's probably best that I go into each one of them with you one by one. Now, number one, we have at the moment Clarke Energy has closed one of its turbines. It's producing 2.3 gigawatts less energy than it normally does. Hinkley B and Douglas, two of the most important nuclear site generators in this country, collectively they've got 2.2 gigawatts of power being turned off. Then another nuclear site, Haitian 1, that's been offline since September, which is why we had pretty high sort of November, December rates. There was loads of other generation out in November, December. Loads of EDF plants were pretty much turned off. But that Haitian 1 is expected any time about now. It's due on any time soon, but it could be pushed back. Another major interconnector line between the UK and the Netherlands, that's got some unplanned maintenance shut down, and at the moment it's only capable of carrying 1 gigawatt of power, which is a lot less than what it typically carries across the channel. However, it's worth remembering we typically do not change energy deals every 12 months. We don't. It's kind of a new thing since people became Octopus customers, and the reason why people are used to swapping and changing tariffs with Octopus is there's no exit fees. They don't charge you for leaving them or switching tariffs. And because of this, people who are signing up to Octopus Go and Octopus Agile have just kind of willy-nilly change whenever they want. Now, Octopus have put some sort of restrictions on Agile. If you leave Agile, you can't rejoin Agile in 60 days. And the reason they did that is what people were doing was switching to Go. And then as soon as they saw that there was going to be a price plunge, basically being paid for energy, they switched back to Agile. And the reason why Octopus put a stop to this is Go customers' energy is bought 12 months in advance. They expect you to be on that tariff for 12 months. They buy your energy for the next 12 months. You sign up to Go. They expect you to stay on Go. They buy that energy in bulk, and then you switch away, and they're basically stuck with some deficit energy that they weren't expecting to counteract for. So that pushes up the whole Agile rates, because instead of, say, today at 4 p.m. being 4p, they have to factor in 17 customers who left at 14p and factor all that into the costs. And because of that, they've basically stopped you from leaving Agile and coming back. Some people almost 24, 48 hours later. So if you switch away from Agile, you can't come back to it for 60 days. And I'm glad they did that, because it was driving me nuts reading forums of everyone going, I've had enough, there's some expensive rates, and then literally the next day, oh, well, it's cheap again coming back. We need to look at the Octopus Agile rate over a 12-month period. Some days it's going to be expensive, some days it's going to be cheap. But over a 12-month period, Octopus Agile is the cheapest Octopus energy deal on the market. It is cheaper than Go, it's cheaper than Go Faster, it's cheaper than the standard tariff. And I know this because I've got the sums. I see what the usage is. I've tested all the Octopus tariffs myself, and Agile is the most cheapest deal you can get on any energy company at the moment over a 12-month period. However, if you are currently on Go, now's not the best time to switch to Agile. Stick with Go for a bit. If you're already on Agile, stop switching and changing. Just ride the tide. It will drop again, it will come down. Now, very quickly, I just want to tell you about some exciting videos I've got coming if you're interested in electric cars and stuff like that. Down there, you can probably see I've got a ton of electric vehicle chargers. I'll be doing a review on every single electric vehicle charger that I've been sent, and also a general comparison of all the ones that are available today. Thank you very much. If you are thinking of joining Agile, check out my Octopus link down below. Thank you very much, and I will see you again next week. Goodbye.